Hello everybody, I think you will recognise this face by now. This is the face of the worst Prime Minister that this country has ever had. When he was supposed to be looking after all the people in the country over the pandemic, he ended up buying protection equipment for the hospital workers, nurses, doctors and whoever else was in the hospitals, and it wasn't fit for purpose. He didn't put a contract out for other firms to apply for that contract. He just gave it to his associate or possible friend, the blonde lady that was in the House of Lords, who lives in the Isle of Man. Her and her husband provided the protection equipment which wasn't fit for purpose. They had to they couldn't even give the equipment away after the pandemic. I wonder, did they give Boris Johnson a thank you for the contract? Because her and her husband in the Isle of Man have made 60 million, that's 60 million pound out of the taxpayers of this country. The amount of people that died in this country was 230,000. That's right, you heard it right, 230,000 people because of Boris Johnson's, he was just inept and he just couldn't get anything organised. So had the right equipment been in the hospital, it would have saved thousands of lives of doctors, nurses and other people, which obviously they lost their lives because they didn't have the protection of the equipment. I wonder, did them people, his friend from the House of Lords, the blonde lady, I wonder did they thank him for getting the contract? I wonder, question mark. So the main thing is, what I want to say is that for all the people that have lost their loved ones through his incompetence, he locked down late 3 times. When all the other countries were locking down, he kept everything open in this country, horse racing events, football events. He couldn't have made a worse job if he would have tried to make a worse job than what he made. It was just an absolute disaster. I think most of his friends possibly call him party man because I think he loves a party. He should have concentrated more on running the country properly. And I just want to say to all the people who have lost their loved ones, this is the important part of the message, is to sue Boris Johnson for losing their loved ones, doctors, nurses, whoever else was a professional person, because them people were the breadwinners bringing the money into the homes, and they obviously died because they didn't have the right protective equipment. So my advice to them people who have lost their loved ones is to sue Boris Johnson for the loss of earnings that their loved ones would have earned had they have lived and survived. So I would just like to say that please get in touch with a good solicitor, all get together and claim for loss of earnings of their loved ones who have died because of Boris Johnson giving the contract to them people in the Isle of Man, and the equipment wasn't fit for purpose. And after the lockdown was over and everything else, and all them 230,000 people died because of his incompetence, and because he gave the contract to the people in the Isle of Man who made £60 million, that's right, £60 million out of the taxpayers of this country, which they should have returned, because the equipment that they provided in the hospital didn't give the doctors, nurses, or anybody else any protection whatsoever. So please get together and sue that Boris Johnson for what he's done. Well, obviously, he's lost the lives of your loved ones, but you've lost the income from what your loved ones would have been making had they have lived, doctors, nurses, and professional people. Please get together and sue that Boris Johnson personally for loss of earnings, because you've lost your loved ones through his incompetence. Thank you very much. Don't forget, get in touch with the solicitor and sue Boris Johnson for loss of earnings. Thank you.